So I was going to do a quick video about the Rowan Plainswalker deck from uh, Thrones of Eldrazi set. The particular Rowan Plainswalker was Rowan Fearless Spark Mage. It's a red, as I mentioned, Rowan Plainswalker for um, 3 and 2 mountains. It enters the battlefield with 5 loyalty counters. The +1 ability is up to one target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. The -2 ability, Rowan Fearless Spark Mage deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. These creatures can't block this turn. So that's kind of interesting that it's dealing damage, but then um, it can't, the creature can't block, so it almost is a waste if that um, 1 damage isn't killing the creature, because the creature then isn't blocking to receive more damage to potentially die. But maybe in particular instances, having a creature not block would almost be better. And the -9 ability is gain control of all creatures until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste until end of turn. So that is pretty cool if you can get enough loyalty counters on it to use the -9, because then you have control of all creatures. Your opponent has nothing to block with. You're able to swing with all the creatures at your opponent's dice, for however many damage you're attacking with. So this is a red-white deck. The next card is Acclaimed Contender. It's a 3/3 human knight for 2 and a plains. Whenever Acclaimed Contender enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a knight, aura, equipment, or a legendary artifact from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's not quite a tutor because you're not searching your library for something, but you can, it's a little bit more than scrying, because, in addition to looking at the top, in this case 5 cards, you're able to put something into your hand. Next we have Giant Killer. This one's in one of the adventure cards, so the creature part is Giant Killer, which is a 1/2 human peasant that costs plains to play it, and then once it's on the battlefield, you can pay 1 and a plains and tap it, tap target creature. Now, the adventure or instant part of this is called Chop Down. It costs 2 and a plains. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Then exile this card. You may cast the creature later from exile. So basically, you can play the instant gets exiled, but you can play the creature later. If you play the creature once it's on the battlefield, you can't use the instant part unless somehow the creature gets returned to your hand. Rowan's seems like it should be Stewart's, but it's spelled out Stalwarts. It's a 5/2 human knight for 4 in a mountain. When human stalwarts enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Rowan Fearless Sparkmage, which was a Plainswalker. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. So, again, in this case, you're searching either a graveyard or a library. If you're searching your library, it's for a very specific card. Well, actually, either place for a specific card, but if you're searching your library, it helps thin the deck a little bit, kind of like that other card that looked at the top 5 cards and potentially put one into your hand. So we have a second copy of that card. Then we have another one of the adventure cards. So the instant adventure part is Dissing Swoop. It costs 1 in the plains. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Then exile this card. You may cast the creature later from exile. And the creature part is Ardivenal Tactician. It's a 2/3 human knight with flying. In this case, there's 2 copies in this deck. Next is Knight of the Keep. It's a 3/2 human knight for 2 in the plains. It has no abilities at all. So at that point, it's just a body, so to speak. It's a creature that's on the battlefield to attack or block with. There's 2 copies in this deck. Next is Prize Griffin. It's a 3/4 Griffin for 4 in the plains. Has flying. Almost seems a little underwhelming. A 3/4 flyer for a converted mana cost of 5. But at that point, the last card was a 3/2 with nothing for 3, so also a little bit underwhelming. 2 copies is a Prize Griffin. Next is Venerable Knight. It's a 2/1 human knight for a plains. Whenever Venerable Knight dies, put a 1/1 counter on target knight you control. So a 2/1 for 1 might not seem like a lot, but in the off chance it dies, you're buffing one of your other knights. 2 copies of this guy. Next is Useful Knight. Useful like young. I know sometimes my enunciation is hard to understand. So 2/1 human knight for 1 in the plains. It has first strike. So the power and toughness of this guy is the same as the other guy, but Useful Knight costs 1 colorless more. Could go either way, a 2/1 first strike or a 2/1 that buffs another knight. 2 copies of this guy. Another instant adventure card. The instant part is Border Rush, which costs single mountain, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Then exile this card. You may cast the creature card later from exile. The creature part is Rimrock Knight, which is a 3/1 Dwarf Knight. Rimrock Knight can't block. Um, so a 3/1 for 2 is okay, I guess. Downside is it can't block. This case, there's 3 copies of that adventure, the instant and creature. Next is Weaselback Redcap. It's a 1/1 Goblin Knight for a mountain. Then you can pay 1 and a mountain. Weaselback Redcap gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So, I mean, a 1/1 that can buff itself until end of turn. You know, the later in the game, the more mana you have, the more you can buff it. I mean, it goes away at end of turn, but if you're trying to deal with a creature your opponent has that's bigger, you attack, they block, thinking it's just a 1/1. Hey, I'm buffing this guy now to kill your guy. There was only 1 copy of that guy. Inspiring Veteran. It's a 2/2 human knight for a mountain and a plains. Other knights you control get +1/+1, which, considering all of these creatures, a majority of them seem to have knight somewhere in the creature type, you know, giving other knights that buff is pretty nice. There's 2 copies, so maybe you get lucky and get them both out on the same time at the same point. Next is Garrison Griffin. It's a 2/2 Griffin for 2 and a plains. Has flying. Kind of makes sense considering it's a Griffin. Whenever Garrison Griffin attacks, target knight you control gains flying until end of turn. Kind of interesting, a knight gaining flying, because you think of a knight as like probably a human in a suit of armor, you know, would be kind of clunky flying around, unless, you know, it was on riding the griffin, but I don't know. So 4 copies of this, which, you know, first card so far that had, you know, there's 4 of in this deck. Next is Rowan's Battle Guard. It's a 3/3 human knight for 3 and a mountain. It has first strike as long as you control Rowan's Plainswalker. Rowan's Battle Guard gets +3/+0. So really, it's a 3/3 with first strike that potentially is a 6/3 if your Planeswalker is on the battlefield. That's pretty cool for, you know, 4 mana. Kind of, I guess that would be around what I would expect for value out of the convert, or the converted mana cost. It's not overpowered for 4, but it's not underwhelming either. 3 copies of this guy. Next we have Windscarred Crag. It's a land. When a Windscarred Crag enters the battlefield tapped, Windscarred Crag enters the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, and you can tap it to add either a mountain or a plains. And of course, there's 4 copies of that, which is pretty good because it's a dual land. You can use it for either of the colors in this deck. Plus, you're gaining a life off entering the battlefield. Next, we have all of the basic lands. Have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Total of 11 planes. And a total of 10 mountains. I guess there must be a reason why there's one more plains than mountain, unless I miscounted. Next we have Joust. It's a sorcery for 1 and a mountain. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. The creature you control gets +2/+1 until end of turn. If it's a knight, then the creatures fight each other. Each deals damage equal to its power to the other. And there's 2 copies of that guy. So, kind of interesting because I more have thought of the fight mechanic as a green card and red as more of a dealing damage card. So the fact that it's fighting, which trades damage as opposed to just doing the direct damage, is unique, I guess. Scorching Dragonfire. It's an instant for 1 and a mountain. Scorching Dragonfire deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. 3 copies of this guy. Now, where it says if that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. Doesn't specify that it has to be done by this card, so you could do it in a combination of using this to do damage and using your creatures to deal combat damage. But where it's an instant, you could also use it on your opponent's turn. So either if you attack and then use it after, or if your opponent's attacking, you're blocking, and then you do that to deal the damage, you could get rid of a single creature or planeswalker by using that guy. Obviously, if it's your opponent's turn and they're attacking, I can't think of any instances where they would be attacking with a planeswalker unless somehow they turn their planeswalker into a creature. But offhand, I'm having a hard time thinking of one that does that. The last card is Weapon Rack. It's an artifact for 4 mana. When Weapon Rack enters the battlefield with 3 1/1 counters, tap to move a 1/1 counter from Weapon Rack onto target creature. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So basically, on your turn, unless you have something that gives all your permanents flash, or gives your cards flash. 2 copies of that. So that's the Rowan Plainswalker deck as the Throne of Eldrazi. It did come with 2 Throne of Eldrazi booster packs, which I've yet to open. Maybe at some point I will open them to see if I want to um, upgrade that, but that what I just showed you was out of the box, um, how the deck is. There's obviously room for improvement to tweak it, so hopefully you enjoyed seeing this and watch for some more videos of me talking about different decks. Please feel free to hit the like button and share this with other people who also enjoy Magic, so they can come check out my YouTube channel. Thanks and have a good day.